Wild Health is about optimizing you. We use genomics, blood work, biometrics, microbiome assessment, many other tests, and a conversation with you to come up with a full health optimization plan. What's the perfect diet, exercise, and supplement plan for you and only you? The Wild Health podcast is about optimizing all of us. Here we cover the cutting-edge science that gives you the base to be able to apply the personalized plan we give you as a patient. To sign up as a patient, go to wildhealth.com. Or if you're a physician or health coach and you want to learn how to do this for your patients, we're happy to help as well. Wildhealth.com for all the information on becoming a patient or working with us.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Wild Health Podcast. Here with me today, Dr. Matthew Dawson. We're going to be kicking off a new series that we're doing here at the podcast called Wild Health Voices. And this is just an opportunity for us to talk with some of the clinicians that work with us here at Wild Health and get their perspective on life, pursuit of health. Welcome, Matt. How you doing?
Good. I thought I was going to be singing though. Excuse Wild Health Voices. Am I not singing?
Yeah.
Am I not singing?
Oh, we're going to have you sing at the end. Yeah. Actually, we can start with the singing if you want. What song did you want to bring with us today?
Okay. Well, we'll save it for the end. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. For anybody that doesn't know, Matt and I have been doing the podcast together for a long time. He and I are the co-founders of Wild Health. And Matt is a trained emergency physician and now a precision medicine physician. Matt, let's start with just kind of finding out what got you into medicine in the first place.
That was always my plan. My mom says that I told her I was going to be a doctor when I was like 6. So it was, growing up, I was really into a lot of other things. I was kind of obsessed with math and in college, it was difficult because I really enjoyed all the kind of math and finance and statistics and all those classes a lot better than the medical ones. But for some reason, from when I was a tiny kid, I didn't know any doctors. I don't think I met a doctor until I was probably in medical school. But for some reason, I knew I wanted to be a doctor. And I think in college, like I said, I really enjoyed the kind of the business, finance, math stuff. But I always had this sense that being a doctor, I could like really help people in a very direct way, which I didn't have any real evidence of that because, like I said, I didn't know any doctors. But that always just kind of pulled me into the field, even though I probably had more aptitude for other things than biology.
Yeah, you did economics as an undergrad, right? Do I remember that correctly?
Yeah, it was finance and economics. Yeah, and I started as actually a math major in college, but I didn't really enjoy the kind of esoteric maths, but I really enjoyed the kind of practical ones, and I was kind of obsessed with physics also. So I always felt like if you understood physics, economics, and then metaphysics, you could understand everything about how the world works, like physics with the physical world, economics, like incentives, why people make the decisions they make, and then kind of metaphysics, the religion part and all of that, bringing it in too. So those were what I was really interested in. And I knew that you just have to take the prerequisites to go to medical school, so I didn't really focus on much more than the prerequisites and then getting the other degree, which was a lot more fun for me.
So even you knew you were going to go into medicine, but you decided to do economics just because you were interested in it. Was there a point like anywhere, I guess in your early childhood, where you're like, I'm going to be a doctor, or like that, where that was just sort of where that stuck?
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember. I was so young. Like I said, I think my mom said I was like 6 when I told her I was going to be a doctor, and I think she was surprised by that. But it was just always there in my mind for some reason. Like that's what I was always going to do, whether it made sense or not for my skill sets. It was always the thing I was going to do.
Yeah, and so now that you've done it for years, what aspects of being in medicine have been challenging for you, and what have been rewarding?
The challenging thing started, I think, in medical school. We were just memorizing all of these things, and there wasn't a lot of kind of first principle thinking. So that's always been a challenge for me, just kind of memorizing anatomy or other components, things that you have to memorize in medical school. that was a challenge. I think getting out into medicine and seeing the system at work and realizing that, again, I've got this economics background, and so I think about incentives and just seeing how much of our medical system is driven by the incentives of the big players who control things, whether it's pharmaceutical companies or whoever else has the specific incentive. That's been difficult because I see that clearly. I see how messed up it is in so many ways and how the incentives aren't for people to get better. Like I went into medicine to try to help people and heal them and get them better, and the incentives aren't really lined up for that. Like you go to a primary care physician or you see doctors, and honestly, usually the sicker you are, the more they can bill for you. Like they don't really have a great incentive to make you better. So just seeing that system was very frustrating, and that obviously is what led us to starting Wild Health and trying to do it a little bit differently.
Yep.
And the rewarding part, I mean, you asked about that too. It was the people. I think the 6-year-old version of me thinking I'm going to like help people and do things for them that they can't. That was a real thing in emergency medicine we were practicing. When someone comes in and they need a breathing tube or they're going to die or whatever procedure, and you do it, like that was super rewarding. That was not the vast majority of the job was the issue.
Okay. So going back to maybe the 20-year-old version of yourself, what were you like then? Were you always this healthy?
I was, so I guess that's two different questions. What was I like when I was 20, and was I always this healthy? When I was 20, I was super intense, all out, all the time. I'm trying to think back. That was like kind of college, medical school. In college, I always had a full-time job and was playing a couple sports and doing all the other stuff. So it was very intense back then. Was I always as healthy? I wasn't, but I always had the motivation and I wanted to be. So that's an interesting thing to think about. When I was talking about my mom saying I wanted to be a doctor when I was 6, she also told me that even when I was like 4 and 5, before I would eat or drink anything, I would ask her, "Is this healthy?" Like I had kind of an obsession with like taking care of my body and doing that. The problem is that that was an era where fat was demonized, and my mom at the time thought, hey, if it doesn't have fat in it, it's healthy. Like pixie sticks and white bread, that's going to be healthy because there's no fat in it. So I was very motivated and obsessed, and I think this is part of what's kind of colored my view on Wild Health and medicine in general. I really wanted to be healthy, and I was not for a lot of my life because I didn't know what to eat, didn't know any better. And in my journey of health has really been 100% about education and knowledge, more than motivation. I always had the motivation. I could always do whatever I needed to do. I would do it. I realized it was because I didn't know what to eat at that time in middle school. I was just kind of like starting to read on my own and figure it out. And in high school, I actually got much healthier, playing sports and other things. But then the other time I remember when I was not healthy at all, got up to a little over 200 pounds, was after I stopped playing sports. So I had learned how to eat and fuel my body and learned about health when I was extremely active. But then when I stopped, I wasn't anymore. I remember I was at the gym. It's called the Johnson Center, where we worked out, and I was running on a track above the basketball courts. And I remember out the corner of my eye seeing in the kind of window, the mirror, this person running, and I was like, wow, that guy's pretty big to be running. He probably needs to kind of keep that up and increase his pace. And I realized it was me that I was looking at, and that was the other time when I realized, okay, I'm doing some things wrong here. I need to rethink my approach to health and fitness.
Yeah, it's funny. That seems to be pretty common among young athletes because you just get so used to burning calories all the time. You get set in this way of eating, and then you no longer playing sports anymore. And then all of a sudden, you're still eating the same number of calories, but you're not burning them off from all the activity. So not an uncommon issue for sure.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a lifelong pursuit because that's a specific example, but you learn how to eat and learn how to take care of your body. And then the next thing you know, you're a year older and your body's different and things are different. Your life situation's different. So it is kind of a constant journey, I think, for everybody.
Definitely. I want to talk a little bit about how you stay healthy now. So maybe we can spend some time talking about the different areas of health. And let's just start with sleep. I know that you focus a lot on your sleep. And I'm curious what sort of tricks you use to optimize your sleep and what our listeners could potentially take away with that.
Yeah, and like as you know, like we'll give a whole hour-long talk on sleep, so I'm
Sure.
obviously not going to do that. They're all the main things, so I'll keep it super simple. For me, I'll put a restraint on myself, a constraint that I have to keep it to 2. So if I had to list 2 things that are the biggest hacks for sleep for me, it's timing and temperature, and probably reverse those orders. Like if I am cool in bed, I'm going to sleep well because I get tired through the day. But if I'm hot, I don't. And I've been through many different things to try to keep myself cool, and now I use an 8 sleep, and like that's the best because Kristen and I, we can have different temperatures on the different sides of the bed. So temperature is the number one most important thing for me. It's difficult when I'm traveling to get that perfect. And then timing. Like this is something new, especially, I mean, we came from a shift work background where this wasn't really possible, but now just consistency, going to bed and getting up at the same time every day, I think makes such a big difference in how I sleep and the quality of my sleep, letting my body get used to a very specific time and not fluctuating wildly throughout the week and month.
Yeah, I know you only wanted to give 2, but how do you manage that with travel? I know you're traveling a lot for work, and that probably raises some challenges with timing.
Yeah, temperatures, actually, I said that's hard traveling. It's actually not, because usually I'm sleeping alone, and so I just crank the air down super low. The timing, yeah, when traveling, I try to, I mean, you and I just spent a week away. We were in Mountain Time instead of Eastern Time. I stayed on Eastern Time pretty much. I mean, I was getting up at 5 a.m. every morning, which is a little late on Eastern Time from my normal time, but I was probably 30 minutes off my bedtime and wake time for the entire week, and I just stayed on it. So if I can stay on it, I stay on it. Yeah, it feels much better on my body.
Okay. How about fitness? How are you staying fit right now? Or are you?
If I don't exercise intensely, I don't function well. So this has never been a hard thing, at least for me, for the last 20 years to stay fit, because I just have to do it. I combine tasks. I think it's difficult with as much work as we have. I think that's probably true for just about everybody. But I think one of the things I'm really good at is combining things. I just give you an example. I mean, this morning, I got to get the kids ready for school, but I had my catalyst suit on, and for 20 minutes I'm shocking the crap out of myself while I'm like making breakfast and waking kids up and pouring sweat, saying get out of bed, like as it's like shocking me. And so I got a strength workout in, getting the kids ready.
Kids are going to have some amazing memories. Daddy in the
that's
catalyst suit making me eggs.
Yeah, they don't even think it. They don't even like take a second look anymore, like with the weirdo stuff that I'm doing. And then I had a bunch of calls that I needed to make, and so from 8:30 to 10, I ran, and I was on calls the entire time. Like some of them were like Zoom calls where I just had my video off, and others were like one-on-one calls. But pretty much everybody I know is like my kids knows I'm a weirdo. So if I'm like breathing hard during the call, it is what it is. So I mean, I normally get probably 90 minutes to 2 hours in per day, but it's never just working out. Like it is always doing something else. It may be as simple as listening to a podcast or an audiobook where I'm like preparing for something that I need to know. So sometimes it's educational, but I get a lot of work done and just household chores and things while I'm working out. I've been able to build that into my life pretty well.
What about struggles? What sort of struggles have you had with fitness?
Injuries. That's it. Like just not getting injured. Like I have no problem like putting the work in. It's sometimes putting too much in. I have a desire for intensity and volume that doesn't match my old body at this point. Like I mentioned this a few days ago to you. I was like, when we were in Colorado, I went for a long run. Like it was a lot of up and down, and I was testing my calf because I had an injury, and it lasted the entire time. And then 5 minutes before it's over, I had a shooting pain in my Achilles tendon. So like I'll stop when I get a shooting pain somewhere. And I was like, it's for the last 20 years been building up this engine, this cardiac engine, but then the chassis, like the rest of the body, is like falling apart as I get old. So thanks for asking, because I think it's something I need to like focus more on body work and prehab stuff now that I'm an old man.
Yeah, it's tough to like take some of that energy that we put towards fitness and start putting it towards recovery instead, which is really like I think a natural progression as we age that we should all be trying to do to some extent.
Yeah, and I've tried to do that. I can't. Yeah, I have a hard time getting into yoga or other things like that I probably should be doing.
Yeah, probably us all. What about diet? Let's talk about nutrition. What's the perfect diet for you?
I mean, I read Omnivore's Dilemma by Michael Pollan, whatever, 20 years ago that it came out, and I really like that book. I think that book is great, and then just based on someone's genetics and what they find, you just skew one way or the other, more animals or more vegetables. I try to eat just food, fresh, local as much as possible, but I really skew towards the animals. My body really, I love vegetables, but I get most of my real nutrition from animals. And when I say animals, I mean like whole animals, like as much as I can. Like so today I've had bone broth this morning. I had sardines for lunch, 2 cans of sardines because that's a whole fish. It's got the organs, got everything in it. I eat a fair amount of kind of organ meat smoothies on the weekends, which is another thing that the kids will probably have be talking to therapists about someday, just the smell. yeah. But it's a smoothie usually of its bone broth. It's like all the vegetables that are in season, like from our gardens or from our CSA, and then some organ meats, like whether it's liver, kidney, testicle, whatever it is. It's you throw it all in there and put enough salt and curry powder in it to make it palatable, and then you go for it. It's delicious.
Really selling people on this one. We'll have to get a recipe for you to put on the website or something. I'm sure people really want to know.
Yeah, but as far I think you said favorite hack too. I'd say if I had to mention that, I'd say beef jerky and food timing. So I always have beef jerky with me. It's just a nice way to get extra protein in, and it just keeps so well. And then I was thinking about this. The other day, everyone is on this really kind of high protein thing now, and it's hard to get enough protein in. But one of the things I haven't heard people talk about that I do is the types of protein and when you take them in can make a difference, because the issue is in general you can only kind of use 40 to 50 grams of protein at a time. And so if someone like myself is really trying to get like a gram per pound of body weight kind of thing, I'm trying to get 180 or so. If I wanted 160 to 200 grams per day, that's 4 to 5 times. And I'm not really eating 4 to 5 times spaced a few hours apart. So like when we were in Colorado, what I would do and what I frequently do now is in the morning during my first workout, I'm getting kind of 40 grams or so in kind of a whey protein or something that's very easily and quickly digestible. Mm-hmm. And then pretty quickly, an hour or so after that, following it up with a breakfast of something that is a slower protein. So my body assimilates that 40 grams initially pretty quickly. And then I take in something like either sardines. It's very kind of complex, got all the bones and stuff in it for the collagen protein, and takes a while to digest. Or if it's somewhere that's got a normal breakfast like bacon and eggs with some cheese, something that's got a lot of fat or other things in it. So I'm getting kind of a quick hit in the morning pretty quickly, and then the second one is a slower hit, so that I'm not like overloading the system with protein immediately, even though they're kind of spaced pretty close together. But I want them spaced closer together because I just had the workout then. So that timing of protein, I think, is something I haven't heard people talk about as much, but I think about it and try to optimize for.
So the things that you're saying sound sort of in the realm of keto. Are you on a ketogenic diet right now, or are you getting enough carbs to keep you out of ketosis?
I don't think of myself on a ketogenic diet. I don't test, and I think I'm usually not in ketosis. In the evenings, so part of what I eat in my diet too is in the evenings I eat whatever my wife has cooked, like whatever Chris has made for the family, or if we pick something up or something else. And so I am not strict in the evenings because I was for a long time, and it created conflict, and I would rather just eat what the family eats, and there's usually some carbs there. So I'm usually kind of reloading the carbs in the evening. So I think I'm rarely in ketosis anymore.
How about challenges? What sort of challenges do you have in the nutrition front? Maybe guilty pleasures.
You know this, and I don't want to admit it like on the air, but yeah, I've got a real issue with like desserts at night. Like you're laughing because you knew I was going to have to be honest and say it. I like have a perfect diet for me. What works for me, like until nighttime and after dinner, and like all of my willpower is gone, and I either have to like keep the house clean, like with nothing in it, or I will find it. Like even if Kristen brings something home and like hides it, like for somehow I can just like sniff it out at night. I get like an amazing nose for finding whatever kind of sweets are in the house.
Chocolate or sugar.
I've just been struggling with that for a while.
I'm not. And I wasn't trying to out you on that one, but I do think I appreciate you saying it because
I see you.
I appreciate you being honest, because I think it's easy for people to think that, people like you, eating sardines and, eggs and talking about taking whey protein with your first meal. And, it's easy to hear that and think that you really just got it all together, and like the reality is we all struggle with this stuff, it's not, nobody's perfect. And like, sweets and desserts taste good. It's hard to like completely extract them from your diet,
Yeah, the intense shame and guilt I feel every night drifting off to sleep is it's real.
All right. Well, let's talk for a minute about mental health. I know this is important to you. How do you take care of your own mental health? What sort of tools do you use on a daily basis, or what sort of hacks have you found that have allowed you to manage mental health as efficiently as possible?
Yeah, for me, it's exercise and naps. Like that's it. like I know, I'm supposed to say meditation, I'm supposed to say all the other things and things that I've tried, but for me, it's like intense physical activity. If that can be fun, like in a game, that's incredible. I love competing and moving my body. And then naps, like that's a guilty pleasure. That's a good one, I think, instead of the dessert example. But I try to nap almost every day now, and it's like sometimes it's 15 minutes, but just that I've got a specific eye mask that I put on, some headphones, these noise canceling headphones, and I have a very specific track of rain, the sound of rain, that I've trained my brain over the last year or two, that when I turn it on, my brain just shuts off. So I call it a nap, but it's kind of a weird thing. Usually I'm not actually sleeping, but it's this weird state that's very much like meditation probably, but it just really resets my brain. And if I get intense exercise and the naps in, then that's the two biggest things for my mental health. And so when I think about that now, so putting this together, I like to kind of live on the two extremes of activity. Like I like to be going all the way, like with the dial up to 11, or I like to kind of be asleep and doing nothing. Like the things that I hate the most are standing and walking slowly. Like those are two things that like I can't stand. And I think like when I see people like with these standing desks and stuff, and I've never gotten into it. I mean, just for me personally, I don't like it. And when you look at some of the like hunter-gatherer tribes now, and they look at like what they do, they have a lot of like walking and also intense physical activity. They're moving their body. They also sit a lot. And that resonates with me. Like
they squat a lot, which you do too. Yeah. Like admittedly, like in meetings, every time I look over at you, you're out of your chair, like squatting or stretching or something like that.
Yeah, I'm always squatting and stretching, but not standing. Yeah. I don't know how I got into standing in mental health, but that's like my the thing.
Just a natural progression.
It hurts my mental health.
Let's take it back to the nap for a minute. Are you using like binaural beats or anything with that, or is it just a standard rain track?
I've tried binaural beats and everything. Yeah, go into delta wave or theta wave or all these different things. For me, just for some reason, I found this one rain track that tended, for some reason, it just canceled everything else out in the world and like kind of turned my brain off. So I don't know what it is about it. It was just I bought these headphones called Cocoons, Kokoon, a long time ago, and it comes with an app, and it's the rain in that app. And I don't even use the headphones anymore. I use different headphones, but it's just the sound of that specific rain in that app that does it for me.
It's like you've trained your brain just to like realize when you hear this sound, it's time to turn off, or it's time to like go into delta wave or something like that.
Yeah, I think it's very Pavlovian. I bought those headphones specifically because they had some like weird sensing things for when you nap and stuff. And I can't remember. There was a bunch of bells and whistles, and I bought them. And so I used that track with them. I eventually abandoned the headphones, but I think at that point my brain had been kind of trained to respond to that track.
Interesting. Okay. All right. Well, what would your patients be surprised to learn about you?
I don't know. You're smiling like there's something you want to help me on or something. But,
I'm just smiling because I hate those kind of questions, and I'm just like, I'm enjoying the fact that I get to ask you the question and I don't have to answer it.
Yeah, it's pretty unfair. So if I put myself in, if I think about myself through the lens of a patient, I mean, we talk at Wild Health, we're always talking about kind of performance optimization. I think, so in light of that, I think what they'd be surprised about is that I'm much more concerned and interested in like mental health, consciousness, the meaning of life, and all that stuff than the physical health stuff that we talk about. Mm-hmm. Like we're constantly talking about the physical health component because people are interested in that. And like I said, like the knowledge for me is what I needed. But I'm at a point now where I honestly care. I hesitate to say this, but I honestly care so little about like lipids and genomics, even, and all the other stuff. I mean, I do care about that, but I'm much more concerned with kind of the bigger picture things in life than the physical optimization. I think a lot of times our obsession on the physical optimization can actually be more harmful than helpful. Like we need the basic education stuff that I needed to know, not that like pixie sticks and white bread isn't healthy. But after that, like the obsession over specific blood biomarkers and getting them perfect is not super interesting to me. I think the mental part and consciousness and things like that are a lot more interesting questions that I think about more.
Yeah, there's like Yeah, I was just going to say there's like diminishing returns. Like you get to some, a certain point in overall physical health and focus on physical health where it just starts leading to anxiety and, especially if it's unchecked. Right. And, also it sort of gets to that, longevity versus health span sort of argument, right? Like, are we really looking for longevity here? Or are we looking to, enjoy life as much as possible with the number of years that we have left? I think that's what we're both getting at here.
Yeah. And I mean, I've done a prenuval whole body MRI. I know all my genomics and what I respond to well. And like I've done the test, but I rarely get my blood tested much anymore. And I'm just not as quantified anymore as what I used to be. It's less interesting to me.
Well, to be fair too, though, you got your blood tested a lot with a lot of different it's N of one experiments. Like I'm going to eat this and check my blood, or I'm going to wear this CGM and go eat a banana sundae or something. I mean, so you understand how your body responds. So it's not like you're not completely driving blind here.
No, that's true. I mean, I mean, I don't wear an Oura ring anymore because I know how my sleep is based on when I wake up in the morning and the inputs that went into it. And I don't wear CGMs anymore, but I wore them a ton. So I know how I respond to things. So you're right. It's I definitely quantified a long time until now. I guess I've kind of earned the right to go on subjective feel a little bit more just because of how much quantification I've done.
Yeah, you've combined the objective with the subjective so that now all you really need is the subjective to understand where you're at. All right. Well, how do you, last question here, how do you value and spend your time when you're not working? What are some of your hobbies and interests?
So I don't have a lot of hobbies. I've already said that kind of my interest is kind of in intense physical movement when I'm thinking about what do I like personally, what do I value and spend my time with. I think that comes down to people, like my family and friends, and having fun with them. I mean, number one thing that comes to my mind is pickleball. Like, you know how obsessed I am with pickleball, because it's just something that combines that intense physical activity, moving through space with your body, and hanging out with people. You said, like, how do you spend your time when you're not working? I think one thing I've done well too is blended my work with that friends and fun part. Like, for me, I work a lot, but not because I'm trying to achieve like a certain objective as much as it's just kind of fun because I'm working with my friends, and I've blended friends into fun work. Like, work is like a game of strategy to me that I'm playing with my closest friends. So when you kind of bring some occasional physical stuff into it, like a good game of pickleball or a long run or a workout session, then yeah, that's what I enjoy doing.
Awesome. All right, Matt. Well, thanks. Hopefully that wasn't too painful for you.
It was extremely painful. I'm not sure I really like the whole premise and the idea, because I'm not sure what people really got out of that about their health or anything else. But I think the song that I'm going to sing at the end will probably bring it home and make it worth their time.
I have confidence that the song is going to be worth it all. All right. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Matt.
Thanks so much for listening to the Wild Health Podcast. If you want more daily health education, be sure to follow us on Instagram, which is filled with health optimization how-tos, grocery shopping lists, guided breathwork posts, myth debunking, and so much more. You can find us at Wild Health MD on Instagram.